Just taking a wee minute. Well, hello everybody. Hi everything in chat. I've got some lovely people with me tonight. Can't think of better people I'd rather have here on a... What night is it? Friday night?
Friday night.
Oh, are you all well? You guys?
Yep. All good.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to the next hour. I'm sure we're going to have lots of fun.
Yep. Me too. Well, you know why I've invited you on here tonight. You know, we're going to have a talk about, you know, our journey into discovering the Luke Mitchell case, and obviously we're going to look at, you know, some media influences on the public. But I was going to just ask you guys first how you actually got into, or how you actually found out about Luke Mitchell. Can I go to you, Steph, first?
Yeah. And I didn't know anything about Luke Mitchell. It was actually my friend posted on Facebook about the documentary, and I thought, I wonder who that is. So I was asking her when we were walking down the road, and she says, "Oh, do you know Jodie Jones?" And I was like, "Yeah, I do actually." And she's like, "That's the guy that's supposed to have killed her." And I was like, "All right, okay." So I sat up, and there's a picture of me on Instagram because I'm like, I'm trying to stay awake from a documentary. And I sat up and watched it, and I was just like, I can't believe I never knew anything about this, about his side of it, what happened to her. I didn't know anything about it. And it's just kind of changed everything since then.
Yep. In a big way?
Huge way.
Yep.
I knew that the justice system was flawed. I knew that. But I only knew that from the side of being the victim and it not correctly punishing the guilty.
Yep.
I didn't actually know about it from the opposite way around.
Yep.
And it was quite surprising to see that actually it's both sides.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah.
And it's obviously affected you enough that you've got involved and came on YouTube to talk about it as well. And, you know, you're volunteering a good bit of your time as well, in groups and stuff.
Absolutely, yeah, because it's not just Luke. He's not a standalone case. You know, this happened because of the way the justice system works or is allowed to work. And unless something's really done about that, it's going to continue to do things like this to people. And it's not fair.
No, it's definitely not. It's really not. Can I come to you, Kenny?
Of course you can.
What's your journey? What's your journey into the Luke Mitchell case? And obviously,
there's obviously been many high-profile cases like this in my lifetime and your lifetime, but I think what makes this different from the rest, and it's going to be something we're going to touch upon tonight, is the sheer media coverage. So I remember this back in 2003. I remember it quite well just because of how kind of high profile it was.
Yeah.
And the worrying thing is, despite the amount of coverage it got, despite kind of the awareness what the nation had about this case, the frightening thing is how much we are in ignorance of the very true facts. And that's going to be something we're going to touch upon tonight. We're going to maybe talk about how is it possible to know so much about a case, but really at the same time know so little.
Yeah.
So very recently, my cousin's girlfriend posted something about it on Facebook a few months ago, talking about the documentary, and I was like, wow, I remember this from back in the day. So I made sure I watched the documentary, and since then it's just gripped me. It's really, really became part of my life, I guess, in the past, few months in terms of joining the group and becoming friends with you guys and actively trying to do something about it. So it has been a journey the past few months. And as Steph said, unfortunately, the reality is this isn't a case in isolation. There's many miscarriage of justice in the UK.
Yeah, definitely. So you think it's changed your life in a big, big way as well, like Steph?
Oh, absolutely. It's completely opened my eyes to the whole kind of justice system and how the media plays a part in this as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. I mean, so you think you're talking about the justice system a lot. Do you think you would go into other cases as well, or do you think you would just stay with this one for the moment at least?
Well, actually, the past few weeks, I have, for example, if anybody's interested, there's the case of William Cage.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not too sure if anybody's seen the documentary. It was on BBC years ago, but that's another potential miscarriage of justice. So yeah, it certainly gave me an appetite to really kind of look into more cases. But obviously at the moment, I'm just really involved in this case, and I'm very, very thankful and happy to be with you guys on this night doing this podcast.
Oh, I'm glad you're here. Video, not a podcast.
Video.
Podcast, you're getting me on. Get me on, lad. Please, people, don't call this a podcast. If you want to call it a podcast, go and listen to something. Don't watch something. Anyway, forgive me for my little outburst. It's not a podcast. I think you just said that on purpose to annoy me.
I think you sussed me out.
I know. I've caught you. So Danielle, I'm coming to you. How did you find out about it, and what's your journey been?
I didn't remember I knew until I'd seen the documentary, but I was sitting in bed scrolling one night of the day, and I was trying to look, because I just love watching documentaries and crime things in general. Not so much miscarriage of justice, it's just crime stuff. And I seen some posts on Facebook, Murder in Small Town, something was said in the documentary. I was like, that documentary? And then obviously Luke Mitchell's name, it just came out of my head, and I remembered when I was about 10 or 11. All I remember is seeing the Sky News interview. So I don't have any memory what I felt at the time, but I do remember seeing it in the living room, his face, and that's then I watched the documentary like instantly. I think I was up to about 2 o'clock in the morning. I watched it when I seen about it, and I was so horrified and like hurt, like it just affected me. Just honestly, like emotionally, but it did in a way. And I just for that night I joined the group. I joined the group like that night, and I was just that was me for that night, and I've no stopped thinking about like a road since. It's even if you're trying to, it's just whatever you see is like, oh, it's just one of the things that gets you. But like I think what Steph mentioned before, that she's got some sort of experience, but as a victim on this side, I've been on both sides. I've been on somebody I know wrongly accused of something. So it just brings back kind of like truthful fact, like, oh, I've seen stuff like that. No so much like this, but I'm talking about the way things can go into court and stuff without certain things, and it's just more proof for me for the evidence, say what I've seen in the documentary about Luke's case and what happened to him, and my experience on both sides. It's just you just need to find out so much. That's what I just had to find out lots.
Yeah. And you've been really busy. You've been the wee champion of social media justice warriors. You've been out there accosting actors and everything, haven't you?
Look at me, talking to me. Listen.
Why don't you tell the people what you've been up to?
But just there, would you mean?
When you were the leaflets and all the different stuff, all the when you went down with the actors thing.
There was a filming going on for Irvine Welsh crime, and Mary Hill just right next to me, and I've always got a wee what's there in that wee bag, with some stuff in it, just there, stuff in it, and I was talking to the security guard, because obviously you can't walk up where they're filming, but me being me, I was going up to my nosy because I didn't know what's going on here, and he was just starting to talk to me, and I was just being really friendly when I started talking and noticed the bag and started talking, and I had the leaflets, and then I had the dog with me, so I walked over a wee bit where it was kind of next to where they all were, but I wasn't able to be them, but I was next to him, and he was doing his business, and I'm doing my nosy, and people coming out with tea and stuff, and she kind of just, because the security guard was over here as well, so it was all kind of timing and business, and started talking to a couple of people about things and general chat and then concern chat and questions but luckily I had all that stuff so I didn't need to try and explain things as in like oh, you can get more information here, or if you type this in, I didn't need to do that. I had to be like, you can take one of these, and I'm always gentle about it. I'm always like, you can take this if you want, but it's okay if you don't want it. Like, I'm always really gentle about it, and I think that makes them go, oh, I'll read it. I'm going to be reading this. And
more open-minded about it if you're not too forceful and in there. Yeah.
And I could see them kind of looking at it with confused faces, and then kind of just, I don't know, I could just see they're quite interested.
Yeah.
It just the way word for and what was going on in the flyers and stuff.
I love it though. I love it. It's great because it's like that's one of the things that I don't know what to call him. My friend, I was going to call him my mentor, but I don't want to call him my mentor because that sounds stupid. One of the things Richard always did was he was always out with his justice magnets for Stephen and Brendan, and whenever anyone was asking, about the magnets, he always had information. He always had everything. And I always say that it's great to see somebody that's doing it in their own initiative to just go out there and give leaflets out, and I just think it's amazing. I just love that. I really do. I think it's fantastic.
And the thing is, you never know who you're going to meet. It's not just the fact that you might be able to bring awareness of this to someone else. It's the fact that you could maybe meet someone who could potentially be someone of influence who could maybe help the campaign. You know what I mean? So you just never know what you're going to encounter.
No, you never know.
That's why I've always got my bag, just with a couple of things in it. And then like that happened, and I was like, oh, I've got this bag with me because I didn't have time to explain things, and because people get bored easily to do. If they're in a hurry, busy, they can't wait. So I was like, handing this, and that's you. We've got them, and they've got it, and it much on their head because they've got it. So.
I forgot to do something. Just for anybody that wants to know where we're from, that's the name of the group. And all our wee hashtags. But I'll not play it for too long because it's I always find it distracting when that's there. But yeah.
I thought you meant where you actually from. I was ready to say Glasgow.
No, where are you from? What's your name and where do you come from? I'll leave that for a go a wee second. But because I put the wee hashtags in because I don't want to be like, oh, we're the such and such group, we're the Judea's People's Front, but yeah, that's the end of that. But if people watching this back, I'll be able to pause on those and they'll be able to find the information. Plus, we're also all the information for the group and for all our YouTube things, our Twitter things, all the things for the group and for TikTok and all that's in the video description. So anybody looking for any of that stuff, they'll find it there. And one of the things that's in there as well, I think I added it actually, I might not have added it. I'm intended to add it, and it will be in there after this if I haven't done it, is a particular article that we're going to be having a look at tonight. Is that right, Stephanie? Are we going to be...
Yes, a particular article by a particular person.
Yes. Kenny's pal.
one of which won't be named.
Yeah, she's like Voldemort.
Yeah.
She will not be named.
No. I think if if you say her name, I think we might lose internet signal and there's my curtain will fall down in the background and the words will fall off a Kenny's t-shirt,
Well, anyway, you're right. That's why we're doing this video. We're going to address a certain article with so-called points.
Yeah, so-called. Yes. So, Jerome's just commented because remember I'd said, the from bit, where we're from. He's laughing and saying Glasgow. He's laughing because we. I'll just give me 2 wee seconds to I'll let Steph have a wee get ready to look at the questions, and what I'm just going to do is have a wee look at the chat and see if there's anything that you might want to see.
Okay.
Got the first question ready here.
Because I kind of need to keep a wee eye on the people as well, so they don't feel neglected.
Thing is, you're all from Glasgow. I'm not.
Can you see this? Look, this lovely comment.
Ah, yes.
Ah,
Thank you very much.
Oh, thanks,
thank
Jane.
you, Jane.
Thanks,
It's
Jane.
nice to get nice wee. Thanks, Jane. What we? You don't know, getting kissed. It's just Jane. Yeah, there's lots of lovely comments from lots of lovely people, and you all know who you are. I always think that's a cheesy bit to say. Anyway, so just when you're ready, Steph, when you're ready.
Everybody else ready? Yeah.
Yep, ready?
Yep. I'm ready.
So the first question is, why wasn't Luke's DNA on Jodie? So I'll read out what this article said about that,
Okay.
and then we can answer.
Mhm.
So Luke's DNA was actually found on her bra, and her DNA was found on Luke's trousers. But in an agreement between the Crown and his defence team, led by Donald Finlay QC, it was decided that the issue of DNA wasn't relevant as the pair were in an intimate relationship. The Crown weren't going to say that DNA made him the killer, as it was expected his DNA would be on Jodie. DNA in this case wouldn't prove innocence or guilt. Thoughts on that?
Who'd like to go first? Dead silence.
Well, it's obviously going to come. I mean, for example, I'm guessing the majority of people watching this tonight has probably watched the documentary. I think something like 1.5 million people watched the documentary. Then you've got the podcast. But just to quote Dr. Sanjaleen, a lot of people who aren't aware too much of this case might be surprised that there's absolutely zero DNA to link Luke to the crime scene, to link Luke to Jodie, or indeed Jodie to Luke. There's absolutely zero DNA evidence.
Yeah.
That's right.
And that's by magic. Sandra is in the chat watching this. I thought I'd put that up in case you say anything bad about her. As if we ever would. But no. Yep. Exactly. And there's what was I going to say? I was going to say something out in my head. Sorry, I'm supposed to be helping with the silence. He's not creating them.
No, I can carry
Sorry,
on.
Steph.
Just on the actual issue that little paragraph presented, sort of saying that there was DNA when there wasn't. So the DNA that was found on Jodie's bra was actually a partial profile. So that sort of means, for anybody watching, we know what it means, but for anybody watching, it means they can't actually attribute it to any specific person because there's not enough of a sample to identify the person it came from. In this case, I'm pretty sure, not 100%, but I'm pretty sure that it could have been attributed to 50% of males worldwide because of the little markers that they had. Yeah. So that, in essence, would not eliminate Luke because there wasn't enough markers to say it wasn't Luke. Yeah. But it wouldn't put him in the frame either because it could have been anybody, really. You don't know who's got what markers. You can't look at somebody and go, oh, you've got those markers. You know, so it was because they couldn't take him out of the equation, they kind of stuck that on him to say, oh, well, the DNA, you know, it was there. But it wasn't necessarily his. And as far as the trousers go, they were a pair of trousers that were taken from his house after the murder. Yeah. They weren't the trousers he was wearing at the time. They'd been trousers that he'd had on at his dad's house that he'd actually still had in his hold-all that he would take to his dad's house. So they hadn't been washed or whatever. They were just sitting in the hold-all. Yeah. You know, that that explanation's quite simple. They were in a relationship.
Yeah.
He would have seen her before he went, after he went, when he was wearing these trousers. It had nothing to do with the murder. It wasn't relevant. So that's that.
Yeah. And, you know, as we touched on, there was zero physical evidence linking Luke to the murder. But I just wanted to very quickly just touch on Professor Anthony Busuttil, who was the pathologist. So I've just got some notes here. So Jodie would have lost potentially 5 or 5.5 litres of blood before death. So we're talking, this was a total bloodbath. And the amount of kind of intimate contact you would expect between victim and murderer it's very unlikely. And as a matter of fact, on the possibility of Luke Mitchell being in David Keller, the pathologist said that it would be surprising and it's less likely that it would be him because of the zero physical evidence.
Yeah. So that's it. We're not just taking a single source for our information. I mean, you can't. He's a professor. You know, he's like a person that's, you know, very credible as well. But it's like, I think even when you've got people like the head of the Forensic Institute,
Alan Jameson.
Yeah, Alan Jameson.
So I've got a quote from Alan Jameson, who, as you said, is the head of the Forensic Institute. He said, "There is 100% insufficient evidence to say without doubt that he's the murderer."
Yep. What was that?
Yeah, it's science. You know, it's not just opinion. It's how it works.
We need science. Yeah, for sure.
Absolutely.
And these are credible sources as well.
Yep.
These people speaking, they've been in, you know, they know what they're talking about. They've studied it. So.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Because a lot of people said we've just watched a documentary. You know, that's what they say to us. Oh, you used to have just watched a documentary. Well, no, we've watched 2 documentaries. It's more than a newspaper article, because what does a journalist know? You know, what are they, you know, really, they can't even get the thing right about the Brad DNA, you know? It's like, and that's one little inaccuracy. So if you think, how many times do the papers get it so wrong about things? You know, it's like, when it's something so serious like that, I think that they should be accountable, considering how much they're responsible for Luke being in prison in the first place. The fact that the conviction was so skewed, you know, he had no hope, you know, and then they're still coming out with lies all these years later. You know, it's like, what did they just do? Regurgitate old lies, put it in the newspaper, and then sell it as something new and make money. You know, that's it.
Yeah, exactly. You see the thing is, Sharon, when you do speak out, when you do say this, people always say, "Oh, you watch a documentary, you think you're a detective or a professional." But as we've just touched on, in the past 5 minutes, we have actually quoted professionals in their fields. We've quoted the pathologist who studied Jodie's body. We've quoted a forensic scientist, Alan Jameson, who's the head of the Forensic Institution. And also one of the detectives on the documentary, he even said it would be a total bloodbath, and it's inconceivable to think that Luke wouldn't have any evidence on him.
Or anything of Jodie's in his house, or handle, or anything. It's not just him not being at the scene. It's, you know, anything of Jodie being anywhere that was connected with him. And it's like, you know, DNA testing is obviously, it's, you know, it can be, it's aged, you know, in terms of now the tests are a lot more advanced than they were back then. But I still think that, no, there was, you know, even just testing for blood, you don't need DNA for that. You do tests for whether there's a presence of blood on something, and you only need a teeny wee bit for that to, you know, so it's, you know, it's crazy. It's crazy. You'd think there would be also, this just reminded me as well, people say, oh, he didn't have anything on him. because he washed himself. Well, was there not a point in the documentary where Professor Alan Jameson was saying that as well? If he was dirty, then it was unlikely that he washed himself.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah, they were
Yeah,
just.
yeah, exactly. Sorry, Steph.
No, I was just confirming it. They did. Because it was the detectives that were asking, you know,
Yep.
if he washed with standard shower gel, you know, and
Mhm.
he was like, yeah, but he didn't wash
Yep.
because he had dirt under his fingernails, he had greasy
Yeah.
hair,
Exactly.
you know,
Yep.
basically.
So we're not just talking about evidence which has been left at a crime scene. We're talking about
Mhm.
physical evidence, because more than one of these professionals have all said that Jodie would have put up a struggle
Yeah.
to the extent that you would expect whoever done this to her to have defensive kind of injuries. And as
Yeah.
Steph touched upon, Luke's body was examined that night by
Yep.
a police doctor, and he had no fresh cuts. There was no scratches. And as Steph said, his nails were scraped, his clothes were examined.
Yep.
Absolutely nothing. Nothing.
Yeah, that's right. And what people forget is, you know, because they focus so much on Luke, there could have been somebody else that they weren't focusing on that had all of these things that you would expect, but because they didn't look to anybody else, that person
Well,
managed.
I've actually. Sorry, then. I didn't mean to jump. I thought you were. There's a wee delay. Sorry, forgive me. My brain went before my mouth, I think. Sarah Gomes, the forensic scientist as well in the documentary, said, what stood out for me in particular was a lack of forensic evidence against the accused, and the fact they had other potential lines of investigation, and just that they focused on one person.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
there was
Yes.
other evidence there. So
One person who
there's
they
nothing
knew,
about-
one person who they knew the identity of at the time,
Yeah. Mhm.
another person whose identity became known later on.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, it would be a very different 10 points if it was backed up with, there was DNA there, but there was also DNA of so and so and so and so and so and so, you know. But yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there was 2 full profiles at that crime scene.
yeah.
Yeah.
And none of them were Luke
No.
Mitchell's.
No.
And there was 5 other parts of DNA and other things which couldn't be identified to one person. So partial profiles. But I would think possibly with advances in DNA workings, they might be able to identify some of these things now, but they're not willing to reopen the investigation to make that possible.
Yeah, it's crazy.
And it's definitely incredible to think that there's no hair, sweat, saliva of Luke on Jodie the crime scene, or vice versa. And as we've touched upon, considering the fact how much contact would have to be made between Jodie and whoever committed this crime, it's unthinkable that there's none of us.
Wrong one.
Well, maybe you.
There. Can you see that?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yep, absolutely.
That's what you were saying there as well.
Mm-hmm.
I know. I mean,
100%.
that's the thing. It's, you know, they say, I've heard, and I don't mean it in a disrespectful way, but I've heard people saying that she might have been attacked, you know, the big attack from behind, and that would have been why there was no blood, right? But that doesn't count. That doesn't count for being, you know, the close proximity of the fighting and all that was, you know, involved. You don't fight with somebody from behind, you know, you fight with somebody in front, you know, so there would still be, even if there wasn't blood, there would be other things there under nails, and like you say, there'd be injuries on Luke, and, you know, it would be, you know, it would be there, you know, it wouldn't just be, he's, you know, dirty but clean as a whistle in a way, you know, so, you know.
Yeah. It's like what Sandra said, you know, how could he have cleaned up his own DNA and left the DNA of other people there?
Yep.
Physically impossible.
Yeah.
So that's what does it. I'm just like, he's not a wizard. You know what I mean? He's not Superman.
He was 14. Danny, I was going to say that. He was 14. Yep.
Even the smartest of killers have trouble with taking all of that out of the equation.
Yeah. Absolutely. And I mean, it's like the measures. Oh, sorry, Kenny. Go.
No, I'm just going to say just what you were talking about. The Luke's house was like raided on 3 separate occasions, I think, and they have found absolutely nothing. Nothing.
Yep. At all. I know. It's crazy. I mean, what was I going to say? I was going to say something. Danielle, have you got anything you want to add from what we were saying? Because I know we're all talking and I just want to make sure you
listening as well. I'm getting involved. I'm like, oh, join this chat.
I just wanted to give you the opportunity in case, obviously when everybody's talking, it's like sometimes.
When it comes to the for me, you've covered basically everything that it's just there's nothing. There's nothing. You've covered that, and in the fact there was 5 other DNA on or around her that will not look.
Yeah.
It's that's it. Just answers an answer to your question. That was it. There was nothing that look but other people, but yet the look was went for.
I mean, we've named quite a few of the experts involved. But I feel like it's important to give credit to Dr. Sandra Lean as well, because we've mentioned her, obviously she's in the chat and she'll batter me. Don't worry, I'm not getting the book out, Sandra, don't worry.
I'll do it.
Yeah. I'll break for one night of the book. But definitely I would recommend the book to people. It's a good other source, to use for when you're researching things. Another thing people would say, we're just read a book and jumped on the bandwagon, and it's like, well, what's the other alternative? Using the newspapers as the counter source, It's like, well, no, I would actually prefer to listen to someone with the experience and the knowledge and the qualifications and the
do you know that's a good point.
Sandra.
That's a good point, Sharon, because Dr. Sandra Lean, to give her full title, we're talking about actual professionals. So these people know what they're talking about.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Not just a paragraph in the newspaper. It's a full book.
Yep. It takes them 2 minutes, to write, and not Sandra, the newspaper. And they don't care, whether it's the truth or not. It's what's going to. I mean, they're a business. They want to make money. They're not there as a public service to educate people. That's what colleges and universities and schools are for, not newspapers. If you're getting your education from a newspaper, then I would definitely think, if you're getting your education from a newspaper, you might have just realised that how to use the internet and things like that, and that, that the earth isn't actually flat, so
might want to rethink that.
It's like, it's like, I don't want to slag everybody off that reads the newspapers, but it's like, if that's all they're going to listen to, then they deserve it. As far as I'm concerned. I was just looking there in my wee notes as well. John Scott QC, you remember who he is as well?
Yep.
Yes, I've got
the criminal defence lawyer.
Quotes from John Scott.
Have you got some quotes of him as well?
I do, yes.
One of the ones I've got is, he says, with a 14-year-old boy, and despite extensive investigation, there is no forensic evidence to link him to the crime.
Yep.
Again, that's not from Sandra. That's other professionals saying this. So for all you folk out there as well that say we only listen to Sandra, we don't just listen to Sandra. We listen to all the people talking about it, the experts in their individual field, And so there's so many people coming out and saying it, so it can't just be, there has to be something shifty going on,
Yeah, there's something tangible to it if that many people are saying
Yep.
it.
I mean, to quote Sarah Gomes, she actually said, innocent or guilty. There's something wrong with the conviction.
She did,
Do you remember?
100%. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean, that's where having a independent review like the Hillsborough inquiry would be really good, because we've got these concerns just now, and that's the beneficial thing about having an independent review. You get it looked at independently, and it would be hopefully people, you know, that don't read the newspapers, you know, the flat earthers. But no, seriously, we would hope it would be the right people looking at it with the fresh eyes and not the bias that was there, you know.
Yeah. And do you know, there's one thing we've maybe not touched upon yet, and I would suggest to you that the reason why there's a lack of evidence for Luke Mitchell at the crime scene is because he is innocent. But I would also suggest that maybe the reason why there's a lack of evidence for whoever done this was because of how horrendously they preserved the crime scene.
Mm-hmm.
I've got a quote here from Roy Ram. Roy Ram he's a former commander of Scotland Yard. He dealt with dozens of murders in his career, and he spoke just about how badly they actually maintained the crime scene, and the chances that evidence would have been lost also.
Yeah, because I mean that's fundamentally the issue as well. You know, it's like the thing I always go back to, and I know it is tied to it, but the way that Jodie was, you know, so disrespected and left lying out there, and you know, it's like no consideration for the fact that we need to get evidence from this scene. You know, we need to get it, and it needs to be the right evidence, and it needs to be able to stand up in court without any reasonable doubt. No, we'll just leave Jodie lying there out in the rain. You know, doesn't matter. We already know who it is. We've all said it. We looked at his eyes, and he was wearing a dodgy T-shirt, so that's him. Like judge, jury, and executioner. He's gone. We don't need to worry about the crime scene. In fact, why don't we just get big fans and blow it on as well, and afterwards put bleach on it? I mean, what could go wrong with that scenario? You know.
Exactly.
It's just sad. You know, I mean, it's
Yeah.
really sad.
It's sad. It was like her life wasn't worth anything, you know. The way that they treated her, it's just it makes me so angry.
So I think that's disrespectful. That's absolutely horrific. So disrespectful. As you say that the supporters are being disrespectful to Jodie, and it's the lies that you are printing it. That's so disrespectful.
Yeah, and like these are the things to get angry about. You know, this should be what the public are angry about. The fact that she was just treated her without any dignity or respect.
And it wasn't for 1 hour. It wasn't for 2 hours. It was for. Can you remember how long it was? From 11 to 8. Yeah, from 11. Well, the official time of death was 5:15 in the evening. So if she was out from 5:15 to, I think it was about 8 o'clock in the morning the next day. But obviously she was discovered, you know, prior to the midnight time, you know. So,
yeah, it's a long time.
I mean, yeah. Oh, hang on, Louise has just put something. Okay. Why is that? I keeps coming out that one comment. Keeps coming.
Sandra's comment.
Yeah, no, it's jumped up. The thing's jumped up. I think it goes back to the one there. That's it. Yeah.
From the back of 11 till 10 a.m. next morning.
Yeah.
Right.
And there was rain. Yeah. There was rain that night as well. There was rain that night. And there obviously was problems with the although we've not really spoken about it, but the condom that was found near the scene that didn't have any of Luke's DNA. It was obviously they knew who that belonged to, and it was like really close to where Jodie was.
Yeah.
But they messed up the testing on that.
Messed up the testing on the outside.
Mm-hmm.
So
you know something. You just mentioned the condom. It just got me thinking about Alan Jameson again. the head
Yep.
of forensic institution, he said himself that the condom being there should have been of greater significance at that
Yep.
crime scene.
Far greater.
Consider the circumstances.
Yep.
They focused on testing that condom to see if it was the same type of condom that Luke used.
Yeah.
I mean, see when I read that, I was like, what?
Yep.
Thousands of men use whatever type of condom.
Yeah.
How does that in any way prove
No, exactly.
anything?
Well, that's what's happened when you're so short-sighted in an investigation. You're going to miss a lot.
Oh, aye, absolutely. And when they found out the DNA wasn't Luke's, it was like, oh, we'll just sweep that under the carpet. Forget about that one.
Yep.
Let's not
Unbelievable.
talk about that.
Yeah, it's crazy. And it's so disrespectful. And I always say we shouldn't be needing to be discussing this nearly 20 years later. The justice system should be, obviously it's not flawless. Nothing's flawless, but on a circumstantial case, you know, that's so flimsy, that, you know, it's like, I don't think you could convince somebody to give you a loan of £50 with the amount of persuasion that was obviously given to that jury. Do you know what I mean? It's like,
Yeah.
you know, it's I don't know. There was nothing there. If I was in the, you know, obviously we weren't in the court. That's true. We weren't there at the court. But I think there's no way after 18 months of Luke being in the papers every day, being called a devil worshipper, a Satanist, you know, the devil spawn, you know, everything under the sun. There's no way that you were going to get a jury in there that weren't going to be, you know, especially when the judge said it was okay because he gave them a wee warning. Don't think about what you were watching in the papers for the last 18 months. You know, it's like, oh yeah, okay, I'll just, you know,
I'll do that.
yeah.
Yeah,
The fact-
exactly.
Edinburgh, of all places, it's like, oh, you could have made even the slightest little bit of effort to put it to Glasgow. Oh,
Yeah.
oh.
And it's like, again, going back to John Scott, he mentioned, Sharon. I think he touched upon that in the documentary. How do you go to court and prove you're not a devil worshipper?
Mhm.
You know,
Going with a Bible.
I know. Like, how do
But
you?
it's true. I mean, how do you? Yeah, you know.
I mean, you could be the most outstanding. You could be the most outstanding lawyer, but you're going to have your work cut out if your client has been subjected to 18 months of media coverage. What Luke Mitchell got.
Exactly.
Yep.
Yeah.
I just want to add this what Louisa said as well, because this is quite, because she's getting involved. You're getting involved, Louise. Yep. Condom man.
Aye.
Yep. I mean, that's it. I mean, there's been many DNA sources found at that scene where no questions have been asked. If you think about that, you know, there's, you know, it's reasonable explanations were given to the, you know, to certain other people where DNA was found on Jodie, you know.
Yeah.
It's like,
Hand on a plate.
yeah. I mean, I would have thought a murder investigation that everyone would have been a person of interest until all tests were done, you know, and everyone would have had, you know, been looked at thoroughly and not been like, it's okay, we'll give you an excuse. We've got the guy, it's all right, we know. Again, say two guys that looked at him in the eye, you know, they know he's guilty.
Yeah.
So
So, am I right in thinking it took like 2 weeks for the results to come back?
I think it was that. I think it was a couple of, I think it was something like that.
And as you say, during that time, they have already ruled out people who, because of where they were on the day of the murder, should have been people of interest.
Yes.
Aye.
Yep.
Yep.
And the alibis for certain people were a girlfriend or a mother or a brother, and that was good enough for those people. And
But
it's
it wasn't good enough for. Well, look, we've got a comment here.
Yep, for Cheryl.
Hi, Cheryl.
police said
It's our Cheryl.
to their suspect they were back to square one. Oh, exactly.
Well, aye, was that well?
Nobody pushing and pushing, but when they had absolutely nothing. I mean, it's actually embarrassing, to be honest. See, when I look at it, I'm like, how could you take yourself seriously doing this?
Yep.
Jerome's commented what happened to Luke was the same for Stephen and Brendan, trial by media.
Yep.
And
Yep.
we touched upon that as well, bad investigation, tunnel vision. Yep.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I'm just putting a wee couple of these up because people in watching it back will see these comments, but they might not look at the live chat. So
Emma
You know
is saying it's like the West Memphis Free.
yep, it is. I actually did a video with Sandra, Satanic Panic, where we used
Yes.
Luke's case in comparison to like Damien Eccles.
I watched that video actually.
Yep, so did I. I like that one.
And the one with the guy with the for the
Even things.
No. Behaviour there. Just want to move on to the next question.
In fact, yeah,
Well,
will we move on to the next one?
Well, what I was going to say was I've actually got the little clip if you want me to play the wee clip.
I played
Ah, right, okay, yeah.
Play the wee
That'd be
clip
great.
because it'll show people just the, we've given you the quotes, we've said the things, we've talked about the professors and all the people, but this was a clip from, I'll let you do a wee talk first while I do my concentration face. Now, you are all going to laugh at me because I'm probably going to get this wrong, and it serves me right for all the times I laugh at Paul, so that's okay. I'm quite happy to have you laugh at me. So, want to do this. Where's that? What's that doing there? Right, can you see anything yet?
Yeah, we can see it. Yeah.
Can you see a picture of a policeman, but it's not moving?
Yeah.
Yes.
Right, that's okay. Just tell me if you can hear it, which should be 2 seconds.
Luke Mitchell was found guilty of killing Jodie Jones and was sentenced to life. But worries within the legal and forensic world about Luke Mitchell's conviction have never completely gone away, particularly since he was tried and convicted without a shred of physical evidence against him. Surprising, given the bloody nature of the attack on Jodie.
There were cuts around the eyes. There were cuts to the mouth area, and extensive cuts, numerous cuts, across from one side to the other, across the midline, to the neck structures, which extended right through the soft tissues of the neck, the windpipe, almost to the back of the neck.
Professor Busuttil was the pathologist who examined Jodie's body.
This girl would have had in her about 5 to 5.5 litres of blood, most of which has left the body before she died. And we're not talking of a few drops, we're talking of litres of blood. Therefore, if there was this intimate contact, one would have expected some of the blood of the deceased to have transferred itself onto a person who was asleep.
What steps would have to have been taken by the offender to prevent this swapping of trace evidence?
Wearing gloves, wearing a covering over his clothing or his body, possibly wearing goggles, wearing something over his head, ensuring that there is no direct contact between his clothing and his body and the deceased.
Luke Mitchell and the rest of the family search party were taken to different police stations. There, Luke Mitchell had his nails scraped for forensic evidence and his clothes taken for examination. His body was also examined by a police doctor. He had no evidence of fresh cuts or scratches. Yet Professor Busuttil testified that Jodie had severe defensive injuries, suggesting she had put up a violent struggle. The police were convinced that with such a brutal and bloody murder, the forensic tests on Luke Mitchell's clothing, his hair and his nails would provide conclusive proof of his guilt. But the tests found nothing. There was no incriminating evidence of Jodie Jones on Luke Mitchell. If the police investigators had said, Professor, how likely is it that the person who killed Jodie had blood on her?
Very likely.
How likely is it, Professor, that there would have been hair, skin, sweat, saliva, anything from Jodie Jones on our attacker?
Not as likely as blood, but quite likely. It doesn't tell us it couldn't have been him, but it makes it surprising and less likely indeed that it was him.
When the results from Jodie's body came back, there was also no incriminating trace of Luke Mitchell on her.
Well, can you hear me still?
You can, yeah.
Right, I just, oh, hang on. Right, aye, that's fine. So, well, that was good watching that after the conversation we've just had. I think it shows, that we're not just sitting here quoting one source, let's say.
It basically confirms everything what we've spoke about tonight.
Yeah, it definitely does. Well, do you think we've got time for another question, or do you think we've kind of went a bit?
One more? We'll try and do one more. What do you think?
I'm happy to. Yeah, I'm happy to.
Yeah, why not?
The next question was, was that the next question? Yeah. What was Luke's alibi and why didn't the jury believe him? So it's a bit of a long one. But I suppose we could start it and then carry on another time. Luke Mitchell's alibi was that he was at home cooking dinner when Jodie died on June 30th, 2003. But his brother Shane gave crucial evidence during the trial which cast doubt on this. Remember, cast doubt, not disprove. Yep. Just saying. Mitchell lived in New Battle, Midlothian with his mother Corinne and older brother Shane. Luke's mother Corinne gave evidence that when she returned home from work at 5:15, he was in the kitchen. In a statement to police on 7th of July 2003, Luke's brother Shane said he recalled seeing Luke in the kitchen mashing ties. But when Shane was questioned by police on 14th of April 2004, Shane said that he had been looking at porn on his computer, and this is not something he would have done had there been anybody in the house at the time. This contradicted what Luke and his mother had told the police. Shane later admitted on the stand that he had discussed his earlier statement with his mother before telling the police that Mitchell had been at home. He admitted that the statement was not accurate. As the alibi was not held up in court, Corinne was arrested for perjury, but prosecutors made a decision not to proceed with the charges. I dislike even reading that out. It is so bad.
I know.
What are we thinking?
What were you thinking, guys?
The way they treated Shane in general as well. I know this isn't about the question, but that just, as soon as you mentioned Shane in this.
No, it is about the question though, because Shane's evidence was partially why people keep saying his alibi was sort of ruined, but it wasn't really when you actually look at what was said and done to Shane. Yeah.
Exactly. When we discuss how unethical and unprofessional we treated Luke Mitchell, who was treated as suspect, Shane Mitchell was probably treated just as harshly as well. It was definitely intimidation.
Yes.
Yep.
And he was older as well. He
was
older as well. But that doesn't mean, just because you're older, it doesn't really necessarily mean that you're emotionally more mature, because you can get young people that are, because there's a good number of years between myself and Steph, and we're kind of on the same page that way in a lot of ways, she's older. Emotionally.
Hey, yeah. Sometimes. I do have some notes actually about this.
And you remember the way that they apprehended Shane? Yeah, I just want to add a comment to that because I think it's important for the people watching it back to see these comments. Yeah.
Right, okay, so
exactly what Louise has just said there. Sixth
Yeah.
place
police cars to drag them out, yeah.
For
for the year
for
to say
perverting the
that-
course of justice. Yeah.
Yeah.
For,
Wh-
I mean, how terrified would you be with 6
Exactly,
police?
exactly. And do you know something? Even before a question is asked, I would probably be in shock. I would be shaking if that's the way I've just been treated.
Of course.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Aye. It's the fact that even in that article there, it said perjury.
Mhm.
Well, no, they didn't arrest Karine for perjury. They arrested them for perverting the course of justice,
Yes.
because perjury would be lying on the stand,
Mhm.
and charges were dropped before they'd even spoke a word on the stand.
But the damage was already done in newspapers because people had already thought, you know, it's not just about the things about Luke. It's like, oh, well, there's something suspicious about his family, so they're covering it up, and then that solidifies well, he must be guilty, and the family's going along with it, and they're all as bad as each other, and
Yeah.
they wouldn't be charging them if there wasn't evidence that they've done wrongdoing. You know, that's the kind of thing. It's the mentality of the people in.
And it all adds together into this big,
Yeah.
conspiracy theory, basically.
Mhm.
Um, so some of my notes, I'll read read
Mhm.
out my notes. Shane's first statement to the police was actually given completely independently of Karine.
Yeah.
She wasn't there, nothing. It was quite a basic sort of statement. Because there would have been nothing significant about that day apart from Jodie going missing.
Yeah.
That he would recall this, that, and the next thing. He would just sort of be like, it's not really any other than an average day. But he did call the police back because he'd been reminded what he'd had for dinner, as that had been a question they'd asked him and he couldn't recall what he'd had for dinner. But it wasn't just Corinne that reminded him of that. It was
A friend, wasn't it?
a friend as well, before Karine had actually mentioned it.
Yep.
And you would think, if, let's play devil's advocate and think he's going home saying, oh, Mum, I forgot what I had for dinner. She would immediately tell him, and if he's trying to cover it up, he would immediately phone the police back and go, had pie.
Yeah.
He waited over a week. Because that's how long it took, in reality, for him to recall what he had for dinner.
Yep.
Um,
And would you agree that for the Mitchell family, that was an unacceptable thing for them to change their story? You know, but other people were able to,
Aye.
you know, recall things, let's say, have a different recall from what they originally had.
in minute detail at one point, and then couldn't decide what time they'd had it at another point, and couldn't decide who was in the room at the other point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's easy to forget things, and especially when you're being traumatized, and you know that's the presence of police there, and it's intimidating if you're not the sort of person that's used to being in a police station or surrounded by police. It is intimidating. I don't mean that the police are intimidating people. I just mean that just the whole thing of you think, oh, what's going on here? You would be. You wouldn't recall things the way that you would if you weren't under duress. That's the way I think.
It's pressure, natural pressure. They're not, trying to get information out of you actively. It's still a pressure to speak to them.
Yeah.
So the time that Shane arrived home was actually backed up by other witnesses, text, receipts, things like that. So we know what time that he got home. The police actually arrested and questioned Shane after he changed his statement with no solicitor, even though he was being accused of a crime. Perverting the course of justice.
Yep.
They're
good at that, aren't they? In questioning people without a lawyer.
They've got
Yes,
something.
there's a recurring theme here, isn't there?
Yes, there is.
Yeah.
Do you think they've watched too much EastEnders and have a grudge against the Mitchells?
I think so. Yeah, I think so. I was just, you read my mind there, Steph, because I was like thinking that. I was like,
But it is back in 2003. Phil and Grant were big names.
Yep.
Well,
I do remember when Sandra went to the police to complain about the serious threats that were made to her. That the desk sergeant, whoever it was at the at the door said, "Which one of the Mitchell brothers was it that did this?" Do you remember that?
Yeah,
Yes.
actually.
Yeah. I remember.
Assumption as usual.
Yep.
Watching too much BBC One, they were.
Yep.
Anyway, so when it comes to the pornography watching issue,
Yep.
that was
Yeah,
never.
Louise here has made that a great.
Sorry, I clicked it before you spoke, but it took a wee bit of time to
How many times did other people's statements change? Not once, not twice, but 5 or 6 times. But Mitchell's statements never change and never have. That's a great point, to be honest.
Aye.
It really is. See, that's why we need Louise at the other side here, so she can put these things up for us again. She's the IT department. But yeah, I mean, it's I have to put this one up because we're very serious and we're taking things very seriously. But I think for the moment, while we're waiting for Steph to come back, I think, where's that one? Oh, hang on. Yeah. Sandra's put a comment up. I'll not put up the one that I was going to put up. Sandra's one up.
Shane wasn't arrested almost 10 months later.
Yeah.
Same with Luke as well. He wasn't arrested about 10 months after it.
Yeah.
Shane would have been arrested around about the same time Luke was obviously charged.
Yep.
So they didn't decide to go in on him until much, much later.
So it gets me that, they had this assumption and this they were so sure that Luke was this crazy person that done this. But he wasn't
took that time.
3 months later. And so if you've got this psychopath that you think, oh my god, he's doing this, you go, why did it take them 10 months to, because they had none? That's why.
That's a good point, Danielle. Yeah, why did they?
Yeah.
And
usually
he was so out of control.
Dangerous. But 10 months. So that's the thing to me as well. Couldn't have been that dangerous because it wasn't.
If he was so out of control, then why didn't he do anything within those months? Why was there no further incidents? Why had there not been any incidents before? Yeah,
I know.
But yeah, when Shane got arrested, it was 14th of April 2004. What I have here. And his very first statement was 7th of July, I think.
I think something like that.
Maybe not his very first one, that might have been his second one.
That might have been when he phoned back, do you think?
I think so, because that would make sense. Yeah. About the pie. Because the reason that Corinne remembered was because Luke had actually burned the pies. Sorry, Luke.
And you know something, like a lot of the media, for example, they always like to kind of repeat the fact that Corinne and Shane were charged, but charges were actually dropped, as Steph pointed out. But unfortunately, the damage was done because it's almost like by design. By design, they decided to drop the charges right at the last.
Yes, 11th hour.
The 11th hour, exactly.
Yeah, I mean, I don't understand if they were genuinely believing that they had been lying. And why would you drop them before you've had a verdict? You get the verdict and it's guilty, then it's like, well, there you go, they were lying. So it really just doesn't make sense to drop them before you've had this case resolved, because you're trying to say they're lying.
Exactly. And like, let's establish something. So obviously, Corinne was Luke's alibi, and there are many people, certain people of interest in this case, who had so-called alibis. Let's just say Luke's alibi is the only person who passed a lie detector test in 2012, proving that she did not falsify his alibi.
Yep.
How many other so-called people of interest or suspects can say that? Luke's alibi is the only one who's passed a lie detector test, proving that she did not falsify anything.
Yep. exactly.
When Shane was originally asked about what he was looking at on the internet, he actually said he was looking at car sites.
Mhm.
And we've got to remember it's 2003, your dial-up internet, it's no great.
Yep.
And the computer records showed that sorry, the links to the porn sites, each connected for a few seconds,
Mhm.
indicated there were pop-ups. So
Aye, pop-ups. Yep.
yeah, so you know, it wasn't sitting on it watching them for 5, 10 minutes, 15 minutes.
No.
You know,
Exactly.
it was a few seconds, and I'll no comment on. You know, it's just I can't.
No.
I can't. You know, because it's just not. It's not even legible to
Mhm.
lay that on him.
No.
But yet they did.
It'd have been embarrassing for Shane as well. That would have been.
Of course, it would be.
To speak, you know, that kind of chat about him and what you were looking at this,
Yeah.
and it's so nice. Even as a young adult, because he was older than
Mhm.
even when you're in your 20s, it's embarrassing.
He was only young 20s, like, was he 20, 21? Still a young boy,
Yep.
you know.
Aye.
Mhm. Yep.
It's embarrassing.
Yeah,
And
it would be
then-
even for adults. It would be embarrassing. You would think, I don't want them knowing, everybody knowing that, especially if he was getting questioned. You know, you would. Most people would be, you know, embarrassed about something like that because
That was
you know it's a
one of the things
private
that
thing.
He said, "Oh, I wouldn't do that if there's anyone in the house." And
Mhm.
you'd say that to sound like you wouldn't be doing it if there's hundreds of people in your house, because that's what
Yeah.
I mean. So it's an auto. I wouldn't do that if there's anyone in the house. That's what you would say. It's
Yeah.
private.
The question was put to him, you know, he didn't volunteer that information. The question
Mhm.
was put to him, would you do that if other people were in the house?
That's what
And he never actually answered that he was doing that. He says, I think I might, because it had been
Yeah.
suggested to him so many times. So
Yeah.
he just, I think I might have been.
Yeah, yeah.
And I
And
didn't remember him.
even,
Sorry.
even at that, I don't think at any point he said, "No, look, wasn't in the house." Did he? He didn't even.
No.
It's not as if he even said that.
No.
You know what I mean?
Mm-mm.
No. He never ever confirmed
No.
in words that Luke wasn't in the house.
Yeah, exactly.
Now, can I just say one thing about the alibi? The alibi, the reason that they were trying to make the alibi so shaky, do you think that was because they had this magical time of death that they made up? Do you not think that's a bit strange that they didn't test body temperature or ambient temperature around Jodie, and yet they were able to give an accurate time of death,
Sharon,
and that just happened to be?
you're cracking up a wee bit.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
Can you hear me now?
I think so. I think that's better now.
Can everybody else hear me?
Yeah.
I'm cracking up. I'm
Yeah.
cracking up quite often actually. Yeah, no, I was saying, you know, the fact that the time of death was 5:15,
Yeah.
and the time where they needed to shake the alibi was at those same sort of times. So
Yeah.
it just makes me wonder, was that why they were putting so much emphasis on rubbishing the alibi? You know?
Yeah. I think so, personally.
But how could they know it was 5:15?
Yeah. And
Didn't
you know, the interesting thing is, in terms of kind of what Corin and Luke said, it was just kind of a normal day in terms of Luke making dinner for his family. And phone records would suggest that as well, because I think there was a phone call to the landline and from the landline,
It was.
Mhm.
which would suggest that there had been conversations about what people were having for dinner. So,
Absolutely. Yep.
Yeah.
And the other, what made the alibis of other people that saw him out with that window of 5:15? I'm just going to say 5:15 for the benefits of meaning the, you know, the Jodie time. But there was people that saw him after that. They were allowed to be perfect alibis for him. You know, there was other people that saw him. You know,
yeah.
friends and things like that. Why did they never question their alibi time?
Exactly. Exactly.
No?
It's very, very strange that That's what they're trying to say.
Mhm.
But what they're basically trying to say is that Jodie had left her house at 10 to 5, met up with Luke, because this magical 10 to 5 is 5 minutes before his phone to speaking clock. Not even
Yep.
going there, right, just now. I'm not, I can't. And then, you know, whatever's happened on the path, so that they're saying.
Yeah.
She's passed away by 5:15. He's then magically removed all of his DNA and everything, you know, or not deposited it miraculously. Got back to his house, cleaned himself up, but not actually washed.
But not
at all.
washed, yes. I was going to say, but not washed, yes.
Yeah, told his mum because, you know.
That's what
And
you
then,
do.
On a normal day when you've, you know, done something like that, you walk in and say, oh, by the way, how was school? Oh, yeah, school was fine, plus you know.
Yeah.
all
exactly.
of this from 5:15. He's done all of this within half an hour to be managing to sit on the wall outside when these two other boys have seen him.
Yep.
Half an hour he's done all that.
And this and other details are consistent with Luke's story in terms of leaving the house, and then he phoned Judith's landline about 5:30 and 20 to 6, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So what's most likely? Luke making these phone calls when he's finished his dinner, or when he's in the middle of trying to kind of cover up a crime scene. It's just absolutely ridiculous that he would pause to phone a landline.
Yeah. I mean, if he's that smart to do these types of things, then he would have been that smart to have 1,000 witnesses at his house to say, oh, he was here. You know? Yeah.
And you would think all he would be doing would be just raising the alarm that Jodie was missing. You know what I mean? So it does not make sense.
Lou was reading my mind. Yeah, Lou was reading my mind there. Thank you, Louise, for writing that down there. You were reading my mind. You know, because it's like as well, you know, the fact that, you know, they've left that was after that time.
Just left. So at 17:32, when Jodie's apparently left at 10 to 5, just left. Really.
And
I don't know about you, but when I tell
that time.
You know, just left. Just exactly.
Yep.
And that's phone records. You can't argue with phone records. You know, that's, you know, it's not like as if it's somebody having a strange recall, or it might have been at, you know, 2:10. It's like, no, phone records, you know. Yep,
exactly. And then that would make sense for Luke going and sitting on the wall to wait for her.
Yep.
100%.
Everything he's said has made logical sense, and he's never changed his story once.
No.
It's consistent. It's been consistent throughout.
Yep. So is there anything else you want to say about the alibi?
I think we've kind of, unless the girls have, but I think we've pretty much covered most things. I don't know, Danny, have you got?
No, you have covered it.
She's like, don't ask me. Past that time of night. She's like, oh, past my time of night.
You have covered
well, this is just part 1. We're going to be doing. There's 10 statements in the news article, and we're going to go through them. Not tonight, but we're going to be going through them. And I think it's probably going to be a Friday that we're going to do that. So it would look like it's going to be 2 questions a week, given the time that we've been today. But yeah,
there's a couple of questions that maybe wouldn't need to go into so much detail. So we might get through 3 at some point. The 4th question is the speaking clock, and we don't really need to go into that much detail.
No, we just need to go beep, beep, beep. This time sponsored by Acrest, and then we'll just move on. You know, we'll just move on.
All I have to do is get a Nokia phone and show you. It has the name on it. Okay?
Yep.
That's it.
I don't want to say, I don't want to give anything away, but I think question number 3, Steph, looking at the list, we could probably go into a lot of detail on question number 3.
Bear with me for question number 3. Yes.
We'll all do our homework for
Yes.
next week.
Need to stay tuned.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we'll have a video clip for that one as well. To
Yep.
We shall.
one example. Yeah.
Hang on, I'm just going to put this up what Louise said.
Dye his hair.
Change his clothes.
Yep.
Yeah, all within half an hour. Genius,
Yep.
man. He's the Flash.
I don't think Superman could do that.
And we've got some lovely comments as well.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So,
See?
here we
People are enjoying it. That's good. There we go again. Thanks, Cherie.
Thank you.
I know it's like I try to take it off and no block the person like Sandra did. Well, I think we've came to the end of our video, you know. So thanks everybody in the chat. You have been amazing. Oh, hang
Thank
on,
you,
I
guys.
need to add this one. This is from Jerome. What to give Jerome the final say? Like, oh, that's us.
You are all dancer, he says. That's so cute. He says you are all dancer.
Oh,
Oh, I know. That's it because he doesn't want to swear and say the other version.
You've taught him well.
Dancer. Yeah, I've taught him well. I know I have taught him well. He called us bampots earlier on as well. But we were at a serious bit. I didn't want to put that out. I was like,
Where's the lie? Where's the lie?
Eh?
Where's
Yeah,
the lie?
I'm going to see if I can find that comment because it's actually really funny. Just give me 2 wee seconds. Crikey, we've got a lot of comments.
Alright, okay.
We do.
That's really good though. Lots of comments, and I think we had well over 30 in the watching it. I'm not going to find that again. Never mind. I'll find it when we're done, and it'll be like, never mind me. Never mind. Forget that. He called us all bampots, and that's enough. You don't need to see it. But let me just put this on again, just in case anybody wants to see the group thing there. That's the name of the group.
Facebook page.
For our Facebook group, and all the hashtags as well. And our new one, it's time to be safe, not feel safe.
Yep.
And you'll understand what that means. It's soon, because you will see it. You know. But do you want to say anything? Do you want to say anything to everybody before I hit the end of the live?
Just a big thank you to everybody watching and commenting. And time flies when you're having fun, I guess. It has been fun.
It has.
Plus, this is only the start. We've still got another 8 points, another 4 weeks to go through. So I look forward to it.
what's the truth telling coming?
Yep. Well, thanks guys for being here. Thanks everybody in the chat, and thanks you guys for being here with me tonight. I'm glad to have my team on with me. Well, not my team. We are a team. So I always say that. You're not my team. We're a team.
We're that team.
The team. The dream team. But anyway, I'm going to end the live, and we'll see you all next week for
Bye, thank you.
more exciting
Thanks, guys.
revelations that we
Thank
did
you.
by the 40. But bye everybody. Bye.
Bye.